Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump accused Ukraine again of lacking, he says, gratitude for Washington's support against Russia's invasion. Taking to social media platform Truth Social, Donald Trump wrote, Ukraine leadership has expressed zero gratitude for our efforts while also re-airing frustration at the war's human catastrophe, attacking his predecessor, Joe Biden, and offering no direct condemnation of Moscow. And taking forward the conversation on the road to peace in Ukraine, joining us is Dr. Kinvara Jangid, West Asia expert from OP Jindal Global University, Haryana. Dr. Jangid, welcome. Trump says Ukraine is ungrateful even as officials are meeting in Geneva to negotiate peace plan. Is this indicative of a certain breakdown of talks or the usual pressure tactic by the US president?
Well, Shubhendu, unfortunately, Ukraine has been at the receiving end of the carrot and a stick diplomacy that Donald Trump has been very good at. If we recall, first time when he entered into the office in his second term, he invited Zelensky, and there was a very unkind conversation between him, and he didn't shy away from humiliating a war-drawn country's head. And Zelensky really showed enough dignity to pass that moment, repair his relationship once again with Washington, and gave Donald Trump a due leverage to lead this kind of a peace possibility between Ukraine and Russia. Unfortunately, what has failed Trump, and this is the tragedy of international politics at the moment, if you really look at the rule book of Trump, he works only with carrot and a stick diplomacy. He's not far, creative than that. And he couldn't find any leverage in 1 year about Putin. So he hasn't got anything under which he can really think that Putin will agree to a deal. So he has come back to Ukraine.
Right.
And said, well, whatever it is, this is the deal. So I think Zelensky will really stand up to it. I mean, he's somebody who has stood up to many pressing moments. But this is really not something he would be disheartened with. This is something that happened to him before. And he will just wait for Trump to find something else.
So when President Zelensky says the choice is between losing dignity and a key ally, I mean, do we consider that choice is clear for him?
It is indeed the case. What Zelensky has in his side, not only he has the world opinion in his favor, but he has strong European powers behind him. Let's remember when he was humiliated in the month of January this year, he was firmly supported by all the major European powers. And that also compelled Donald Trump to take his unkind words back against him personally. He really ridiculed him personally. But Donald Trump was told in a way that you just cannot do any business with European countries if you do this to one European country. So I think Zelensky will use this leverage of the European Union and the European powers to tell Donald Trump that if he can't make this peace, then maybe he can't make this peace. And let it be. Whatever ground Ukraine has held so far, that's good enough for Ukraine to really hold on to, not to make any compromise now.
Dr. Jangid, how do you assess Donald Trump's 28-point peace plan, something that is being, we understand, discussed in Geneva? How does it articulate America's view of the conflict?
That's a very interesting way to look at it. I recently spoke a couple of times about the 20 plan in Gaza. Somehow Trump is absolutely successful with that plan, and I'm really glad he's successful, and I'm one of the person at least who appreciates his release at the moment. But when it comes to 28 plan, look at the one demand. One demand says within 100 days, Ukraine will have to go under a national election, which is to say Putin doesn't want to see Zelensky be a popular or any kind of a leadership role in Ukraine. I think that sort of a demand really puts Zelensky in a very bad light within the Ukrainian society. I think he is a wartime hero. He wasn't a charismatic leader before this war. He wasn't really even leading a very successful government before this war. But this guy really became the symbol of the Ukrainian resistance. So to have a demand like this, and to also put Ukraine under this kind of a threat that if Ukraine will invade Russia, it will lose the security guarantee. Now Ukraine hasn't started this war. The only act of, let's say, a bit of a balancing of power was on the part of the Ukraine to have an ambition to be a member of the NATO. Well, that demand has already been ruled out by Donald Trump in January, that NATO will never
Right.
be expanded to Ukraine. So I think what Zelensky will hold on to is his position in the domestic politics of Ukraine. I think that's very dear to him, and he deserves that. He would also play the card of the righteous and the wronged one in this conflict, holding on to the public opinion as well as the European powers. But it's true that Donald Trump is impatient. Donald Trump really wants to count another piece making in international relations. So he seems far more desperate to get a deal. And that's what the statement that you just played. He said, whatever it takes, I just want this deal to happen. That's it's a very impatient approach to international relations. Nations don't act like that. He can act like that, but Ukraine doesn't have to act like that after bearing all the cost in the 4 years.
And so finally, in brief, how do you think this conflict has played out for President Putin and Russia? How would he be looking at what comes out of Geneva?
He's very self-assured. He has realized that Trump, no matter what threats he holds against many countries or leaders, he can't threaten Putin. Putin had Trump. Actually, if you really look at the elections that Trump lost and when Joe Biden was the president, the biggest advocate of Putin in the America during Joe Biden's presidency was Donald Trump. So I think Putin knows Donald Trump far more, and I think Trump has already made a mistake of appearing a fan of Putin in those 4 years before he became the president for the second time. So I think between these two leaders, one to one, I think Putin understands Trump far better, and Putin has, unfortunately, unending reserve of gas and oil without which Europe cannot pass a single winter. And just look at the unkind approach Donald Trump took to India in pressurizing Russia, and that didn't even burn Russia's pockets. So I think by all means, Putin seems beyond Trump's carrot and a stick diplomacy. He doesn't fall into it.
Right. On that note, Dr. Kinvira Jahangir, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour, sharing your perspective.